Well, thank you, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here with you this morning. And I just want to start with the land acknowledgement. So, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations that have lived here for thousands of years, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. And it is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. Well, this month is actually Autism Awareness Month, and it's a great timing for Queen's Park to be reopening to the public because I know that autism advocacy groups are very determined to get the attention of this government to make sure that they get the service that they need and the service that they deserve. On Saturday, it was World Autism Awareness Day. And I know that because I got a lot of message on social media, people reminding me of that. And it was great. And I happened to be actually door knocking in Nepean. And I know this is an area where there's a lot of people from the coalition that, make public manifestation to bring the attention of the government. So, on that day as well, the Ontario Liberal Party announced our plan to invest in children with autism and their families. Donc, samedi, c'était la journée mondiale de sensibilisation à l'autisme et le Parti libéral de l'Ontario en a profité pour annoncer son plan d'investir dans les enfants autistes et leurs familles. I'm joined here with Angela Brent from the Ontario Autism Coalition, and many parents will be joining us in the legislature later, in the galleries later, for their Fill the Galleries event. So I'm here because over the last 4 years, Ford and his conservatives have broken a lot of promises towards families with children who have autism. I think it's important to hold this government accountable to those broken promises and to highlight what impacts his decisions have had on Ontarians. Every single time Doug Ford and his conservative make promises to do anything with the Ontario Autism Program, parents know those are just empty words and won't actually amount to anything of action. Chaque fois que Doug Ford et ses conservateurs promettent de faire quoi que ce soit avec le programme ontarien des services en matière d'autisme, les parents savent que ce ne sont que des mots vides et qu'il n'y aura aucune action réelle. They promised to clear the wait list. The wait list has more than doubled. No progress has been made, just another broken promise. They promised they would build a new autism program by 2021. It's now 2022, and families are not seeing any progress. Just another broken promise. They promised to double the Ontario Autism Program budget, but they won't actually spend the money in that budget. Just again, another broken promise. Ontario families are feeling the backlash of those broken promises firsthand. Les familles ontariennes subissent directement le contre-coup de ces promesses non tenues, et ce n'est pas juste. Just ask the parents of the over 53,000 now children that are still on the wait list, waiting to access the most basic services through the Ontario Autism Program. So, where do we go from here? How do we fix the mess Doug Ford and his conservatives have created? Well, on Saturday, the Ontario Liberals revealed our plan to fix the Ontario Autism Program. As the MPP for Ottawa-Vanier, elected 2 years ago, and as the Ontario Liberal critic for the children, community, and social services, I have met with many stakeholders, experts, and people and families affected by the Ontario Autism Program, and I have heard directly from them on the biggest challenges and the support that they need. That's why I'm so proud of our plan, because it addresses so many of the issues that you have been bringing to my attention. It shows that we listen and have heard your recommendation on what needs to be fixed. We also understand that it cannot wait and that we need to fix years of bad decision by this government. An elected Ontario Liberal government would implement a clinically prescribed needs-based Ontario Autism Program for every child that does not discriminate based on age, including applied behavioral analysis, occupational therapy, mental health, and speech and language pathology. This also means that we will need to build up capacity across the province and ensure that the sectors is regulated so that children get the quality of services that they deserve. Our party is committed to hiring 5,000 more special education workers. This means that wait times will be reduced for children with autism to receive services, and that will also help to close the learning gap. That's how we will get to reducing the wait list. One of the biggest struggles that I've heard from families is that they need to pay out of pocket for autism expenses. So let's fix that. Let's implement a direct billing option for autism therapy and make special services at home funding more flexible. And let's conduct a comprehensive reform of special education and better transition people into adult services. And to make sure that this never happens again, our party would establish an independent review of the autism services that won't come out of the Ontario Autism Program budget, that would allow us to learn from past failures and mistakes. As a new MPP to the party, I've been a part of the process of rebuilding and learning from our mistakes. En tant que nouvelle députée du parti élue il y a seulement 2 ans, j'ai fait partie du processus de reconstruction du parti et de faire un apprentissage de nos erreurs passées. Et c'est un exercice très important, car c'est à travers l'écoute pendant que nous avons tenu des consultations que nous avons appris ce que les Ontariens attendent de leur gouvernement. I believe this proposed plan will support families of children with autism because this plan comes from you telling us what's needed, from the solutions you have identified, because no one knows better than the people that are living through the experience. The most important thing is to continue to work together, continue to listen, continue to invest, and continue to make adjustments if needed. And that's exactly what I will keep doing. With that, I will pass it off to Angela Brandt, President of the Ontario Autism Coalition, to say a few words. And thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, MPP Collard. Thank you for helping us to advocate for such important services for our children. Apologies, just getting my glasses. So, good morning. My name is Angela Brandt. I'm the parent of a child with autism. I'm a researcher, and I'm also the president of the Ontario Autism Coalition. This past Saturday, April 2nd, was World Autism Awareness Day. Awareness is nice, but action is better. For the observance of World Autism Day, I asked this government to ensure that each individual with autism in Ontario is provided with the means to achieve the best possible quality of life. Over 3 years ago, in February of 2019, Doug Ford's government destroyed the Ontario Autism Program in an oafish attempt to clear the autism services waitlist, which they also secretly froze in the fall of 2018. The government implemented a childhood budget system that gave flat rate checks to families based on the child's age. The plan was poorly thought out, inequitable, and wasteful. As well, since the waitlist was frozen, no child on the waitlist was able to access life-changing therapy. As a result of this disastrous policy blunder, the autism community was outraged, holding protest at Queen's Park and all over the province. I recall when Doug Ford was campaigning, he said to parents of children with autism that they would not be protesting on the front lawn of Queen's Park if he were premier. But we did, several times, in fact, and we would have been there way more often if it wasn't for the pandemic. In response to the protests and outcry, Ford's government replaced the minister and promised a needs-based program. They appointed an advisory panel, which wrote recommendations that had dozens of recommendations to rebuild a broken system to make it truly needs-based. However, the development of the new core services of the Ontario Autism Program does not implement many of the recommendations. It's an outright lie when this government states this program was built by the community for the community. Still, the new core services of the Ontario Autism Program was to be launched April of 2020. But then, in December of 2019, before the start of the pandemic, I might add, so the pandemic should not be used as an excuse for all of the delays, Minister Smith, Todd Smith, who was minister on the file at the time, admitted that he had been misleading the autism community, and the new program would not be available until sometime in 2021. So the launch of the so-called needs-based core program was announced in February of 2021. We are now in April of 2022, and the program appears to continue be trickling out at a very, very slow pace, with only a few hundred kids moving off the wait list in over a year. But as with all things to do with this program, the community is in the dark about next steps and processes. Also, because the launch of the program was considered a pilot, the movement of the waitlist was not in chronological order, and funding allocation is still not based on individual need. Not only is the program moving at a snail's pace, it continues to be inequitable. There has been no urgency on the part of this government to allow access to life-changing therapy for our children. But when a court ruling struck down sections of the Elections Finances Act, Ford brought the legislature back for an emergency session. That is a level of urgency the autism community has never seen from this government. The community is in crisis, but that is not deemed an emergency by this government. There are now over 53,000 children still waiting to access life-changing therapy. That's more children than the capacity of the Rogers Centre or the Sky Dome, as I know it better. Picture it, the full Sky Dome over capacity with children just waiting to access life-changing services. The government promised to reduce the wait list, but instead they more than doubled it. And because of the destruction of the OAP and the wait list freeze, capacity for autism services has been decimated. Minister Fullerton, now the third minister on the file, claims 40,000 children are receiving support. Subsidy is not support. Most families that receive checks are either unable to access the intensity of therapy their child requires because they're not able to pay for clinically prescribed treatment, or they're not able to access therapy at all due to lack of capacity. During an interview about his first year as Premier, Premier Ford was asked if he could have one do-over, what would it be? Ford was quick to mention the autism file. He stated the file was close to his heart and that he should have set the Ontario Autism Program budget at $600 million from the get-go. Well, the current government continues to proudly announce that they increased the OAP budget, but they didn't spend almost 1/3 of it in the first year and continue to underspend. The Ford government had one job to do: move children off the wait list. They failed miserably. There is a bottleneck of children that have been waiting since as early as 2015 that have had zero access to life-changing therapy because of this government's callous dithering. These children will never get those years back. Many children have lost valuable time. This delay has and continues to cause irreparable harm. A comprehensive report published by the American Academy of Pediatrics states early treatment for autism is critical, but this government continues to put up barriers. In recognition of World Autism Day and Month, We need to stop delaying access to life-changing therapy for tens of thousands of children with autism in the province. The Ontario Autism Coalition will continue to advocate for publicly funded, needs-based services for autistic individuals that are accessible, ethical, evidence-based, and comprehensive. And we will be reminding voters over the next few months what this government did to our children. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very much.
Okay. Thank you.